The bridge of the TCS Indomitable was quiet except for the soft hum of computers. Admiral Sarah Chen stood with her hands behind her back, looking out at the stars through the main screen. Her gray hair was pulled back tight, and her uniform was perfectly clean. She had been in space for 30 years, but she still loved watching the stars. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Martinez from his station. "We're getting a transmission. It's on all frequencies. Very strong signal." Sarah turned around. "Put it on the main screen." The stars disappeared. In their place appeared a creature that looked like a giant lizard wearing golden armor. Its eyes were yellow and cold. Behind it, Sarah could see a massive ship with strange writing on the walls. "I am Emperor Vexithara of the Zephyrian Galactic Empire," the creature said. Its voice was deep and threatening. "We have conquered 847 star systems. We have ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. Now we turn our attention to your small corner of space." Sarah's crew watched in silence. The alien emperor continued speaking. "Your species calls itself human. You live in 12 star systems. You have been hiding from the rest of the galaxy for too long. This ends now." The emperor moved closer to the camera. Sarah could see sharp teeth when it spoke. "We offer you a choice that we have given to 43 other species. Submit to the Zephyrian Empire now, and your people will live as our servants. You will work for us. You will give us your resources. You will obey our laws. In return, we will let your children grow up." Sarah felt her hands form fists, but she kept her face calm. "If you refuse," the emperor said, "we will take your worlds by force. We will destroy your cities. We will scatter your people across the galaxy as slaves. Your choice is simple. Bow down now, or watch your species die." The screen showed space outside the alien ship. Sarah and her crew could see the Zephyrian fleet. Ships stretched as far as they could see. Thousands and thousands of warships, each one bigger than anything humanity had ever built. The ships were dark metal with glowing blue engines. They looked like they could destroy planets. "You have 7 of your days to decide," the emperor said, appearing on screen again. "We know your species counts time differently than we do. 7 rotations of your home world. After that, we begin the destruction of your colonies." The emperor smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Do not think about running. We have surrounded your space. Do not think about hiding. We can track every ship you have. Do not think about fighting. We have studied your technology. Your weapons cannot hurt our ships. Your shields cannot stop our guns." The transmission ended. The stars came back on the screen, but now they looked different. Out there, hidden in the darkness, 50,000 alien warships waited for humanity's answer. The bridge was completely quiet for a long moment. Sarah looked at her crew. There was Martinez at communications, barely 25 years old. There was Commander Thompson at weapons, a veteran of the Mars Defense Fleet. There was Dr. Kim at the science station, the smartest person Sarah had ever met. There was Engineering Chief Rodriguez, who could fix anything that broke. These were good people, brave people. They had joined the Terran Confederation Navy to protect humanity. Now they faced an enemy that claimed to rule the entire galaxy. Sarah waited to see fear in their eyes. She waited for someone to panic. She waited for the normal human reaction to learning that death was coming for everyone they loved. Instead, something else happened. Martinez started to smile. It was small at first, just the corners of his mouth moving up. Then Commander Thompson smiled too. Dr. Kim pushed her glasses up and smiled. Chief Rodriguez grinned like someone had just told him a funny joke. Sarah felt her own face changing. She tried to stop it, but she couldn't. She started to smile too. "Admiral," said Martinez, still smiling, "should I send a reply to the Emperor?" Sarah's smile grew bigger. "Not yet, Lieutenant. First, I want to talk to Earth Command." She walked to her captain's chair and sat down. Her smile never went away. "Dr. Kim," she said, "please run a scan of the alien fleet. I want to know everything about their ships." "Yes, Admiral," Dr. Kim said. She was still smiling as she worked at her station. "Admiral, their ships are using energy shields and plasma weapons. Standard galactic technology, according to our files. Excellent, Sarah said. Commander Thompson, please send a message to all fleet commanders. Tell them we have visitors. Right away, Admiral, Thompson said. He was grinning now. Should I include the activation codes? All of them, Sarah said. It's time. Our guests learned what human hospitality really means. Chief Rodriguez was laughing quietly at his station. Admiral, should I power up the special systems? Not yet, Chief. We don't want to be rude to our guests. Let them think they're in charge for a few more days. The crew was working with smooth efficiency, but everyone was still smiling. Sarah had seen this look before, during the asteroid belt war and the Jupiter colony crisis. It was the look humans got when someone threatened their family. Dr. Kim looked up from her station. Admiral, I'm detecting quantum communication signals from the alien fleet. They're talking to someone very far away. Of course they are, Sarah said. They're calling home to tell everyone how scary they are. Let them talk. She stood up and walked to the main screen. Out there in the darkness, the Zephyrian Empire waited for humanity to surrender. They thought they knew everything about humans. From watching their public communications and trade signals. They were wrong. The aliens had seen humanity's merchant ships and scientific vessels. They had seen the small patrol boats that guarded the outer colonies. They had counted the ships in Earth's home fleet. They had measured humanity's weapons and judged them weak. But they had never seen what humans built in secret. They had never seen the shipyards hidden inside asteroids. They had never seen the weapons platforms disguised as communication satellites. They had never seen what humans could do when someone threatened their children. Sarah touched her communication device. This is Admiral Chen to all fleet commanders. Begin Phase 1 of First Contact Protocol. Repeat, Phase 1 is now active. Across human space, orders went out to ships the aliens had never detected. In hidden bases throughout the solar system, crews began final preparations for systems the Zephyrians didn't know existed. On Earth, the Terran Council met an emergency session, but they weren't discussing surrender. Sarah looked at the stars again. Somewhere out there, Emperor Vexithera was probably celebrating. He thought he had found another weak species to crush. Admiral, said Martinez, Earth Command is asking about the Emperor's ultimatum. Sarah's smile grew even bigger. Tell them the Emperor was very polite. Tell them we appreciate the warning. Tell them we'll send our reply in 7 days, just like he asked. She sat back down in her chair. Oh, and Martinez? Make sure to thank the Emperor for giving us time to prepare. That was very considerate of him. The crew laughed softly. Outside, 50,000 alien warships waited for humanity to surrender. They were going to be very surprised. High Commander Zektar stood in the command center of the Zephyrian flagship Dark Conquest. The room was filled with holographic displays showing human space. Red dots marked human colonies. Blue lines showed their trade routes. Everything looked perfectly organized for conquest. Report, Zektar commanded. His voice echoed through the metal halls of the ship. Intelligence Officer Mordak stepped forward. Like all Zephyrians, he was tall and covered in dark scales. His yellow eyes glowed in the dim light of the command center. High Commander, we have been monitoring human communications for 6 days. The humans are panicking, just as expected. Show me, Zektar said. The main hologram changed to show intercepted human messages. Zektar watched with satisfaction as the recordings played. Emergency evacuation of Proxima Colony approved, said a human voice. All civilian transports to depart within 48 hours. Defense Fleet Command to all vessels, said another voice. Report to Rally Point Delta. This is not a drill. Mars Industrial Complex requesting immediate assistance, said a third voice. We need more time to evacuate personnel. Zektar's mouth opened in what humans would recognize as a smile, but with many more teeth. Perfect, he said. The humans are running like frightened animals. What about their military response? Mordak touched a control. New information appeared, on the displays. Their fleet movements are exactly what our computers predicted. They are gathering ships from all their colonies. Our count shows approximately 8,000 vessels. 8,000? Zektar laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. We brought 50,000 ships to conquer them. This will be the shortest war in galactic history. War Master Thexelon approached the command table. She was older than the others, with scars across her scales from 100 battles. "High Commander," she said. "I have reviewed their ship designs. Their technology is primitive. Kinetic weapons instead of plasma, cannons, metal armor instead of energy shields. They fight like savages." Zektar studied the holographic images of human ships. They looked crude and simple compared to Zephyrian vessels. Where Zephyrian ships were smooth and elegant, human ships were covered in sharp angles and ugly weapon mounts. "Pathetic," Zektar said. "Their biggest ship is smaller than our destroyers. How did they ever reach the stars with such backward technology?" "Luck, High Commander," said Mordak. "They found a few habitable worlds close to their home system. They never had to fight for survival like proper species." On the screens around them, more human communications played. Military officers argued about defensive positions. Civilian leaders begged for more evacuation ships. Scientists transmitted desperate research data. But on the human ship Indomitable, Admiral Sarah Chen was reading very different reports. "Status report, Dr. Kim," Sarah said. Dr. Kim looked up from her science station with a small smile. "Phase 1 is complete, Admiral. All outer colonies show successful evacuations. The Zephyrians are tracking exactly what we want them to track." "Excellent. Commander Thompson, how are our weapon platforms?" Thompson grinned. "All 500 asteroid bases report ready, Admiral. The Zephyrians think they're looking at mining stations and communication relays." "Chief Rodriguez, status of the hidden shipyards." "All operational, Admiral," Rodriguez said. "The yards inside the Jupiter moons are producing on schedule. The aliens still think those are just research stations." Sarah walked to the main screen. It showed human space exactly as the Zephyrians saw it. 12 star systems, a few dozen planets. 8,000 ships gathered in obvious defensive positions. It was all a lie. The evacuations were actually the final deployment of weapon systems that had been disguised as civilian equipment for decades. The mining stations in the asteroid belt were massive military bases with enough firepower to destroy fleets. The research facilities around Jupiter were shipyards that had been building warships in secret for 20 years. And those 8,000 ships the Zephyrians had counted, they were the old, outdated vessels that humanity wanted the aliens to see. The real fleet was 10 times larger and hidden throughout the solar system using stealth technology the aliens didn't know existed. "Lieutenant Martinez," Sarah said, "send another panicked message to Mars Command. Make sure the Zephyrians intercept it." Martinez nodded. "Should I include more requests for evacuation ships?" "Yes, and make sure to sound very worried about our primitive weapons. We don't want them to get suspicious." Martinez began typing. On Zephyrian ships throughout the system, intelligence officers recorded every word, never knowing they were hearing exactly what humans wanted them to hear. Back on the Dark Conquest, Zektar was reviewing battle plans with his commanders. "The humans have positioned their main fleet here," he said, pointing to a hologram. 8,000 ships in a defensive formation around their home world. "A classic mistake," said War Master Thexelon. "They're trying to protect everything and will end up protecting nothing." "Indeed," Zektar agreed. "We will divide our forces. 20,000 ships will attack their outer colonies. 20,000 more will engage their main fleet. The remaining 10,000 will serve as reserves." "High Commander," asked a junior officer, "what if the humans have hidden forces we haven't detected?" The command center fell silent. Then Zektar began laughing. His officers joined in, filling the room with harsh, grinding sounds. "Hidden forces?" Zektar said when he could speak again. "Look at their technology. Look at their ships. These creatures can barely reach their own moon. What could they possibly hide from us?" The laughter continued. None of the Zephyrians noticed that their perfect intelligence about human forces came entirely from communications they had intercepted. None of them questioned why it was so easy to spy on human military channels. None of them wondered why humans would discuss secret battle plans on unencrypted frequencies. On the Indomitable, Admiral Chen received a final report from Earth Command. "All Phase 2 systems are online, Admiral," reported Dr. Kim. "The Zephyrians' own sensor data confirms they've detected exactly what we wanted them to detect." "Phase 3? Sarah asked. "Ready and waiting," said Commander Thompson. "All stealth ships are in position. All hidden bases are armed and operational. All special weapon systems are powered up and waiting for your command." Sarah nodded. She looked at the tactical display that showed the real situation. Not 8,000 human ships, but 80,000. Not 12 defended systems, but dozens of hidden military installations. Not primitive technology, but weapons designed specifically to counter everything the Zephyrians would bring to the fight. "Admiral," said Martinez, "the aliens are sending another transmission. Should I put it on screen?" "Please do." Emperor Vexithara appeared on the screen again. He looked just as arrogant as before. "Humans," he said, "your time is almost up. We have watched your pathetic preparations. We have seen your weak ships and primitive weapons. Tomorrow, we will show you the power of the Zephyrian Empire." The Emperor leaned closer to the camera. "Your resistance will be crushed in hours. Your colonies will burn. Your people will serve us forever. This is your final chance to surrender." The transmission ended. Sarah's crew looked at her expectantly. Sarah smiled that same calm smile she had worn for 6 days. "Martinez," she said, "please send a reply to the Emperor." "What should it say, Admiral?" Sarah thought for a moment. "Tell His Imperial Majesty that we appreciate his patience. Tell him we look forward to meeting his fleet tomorrow. Tell him we hope he enjoys our hospitality." The message was sent. On Zephyrian ships throughout the system, intelligence officers recorded it and added it to their files about human panic and desperation. They had no idea that tomorrow they would learn the difference between what humans say and what humans do. The Zephyrian fleet moved through space like a dark storm cloud. 50,000 warships advanced in perfect formation toward the human defensive line. Their hulls gleamed with the blue light of energy shields, plasma cannons charged with deadly power. High Commander Zektar stood on the bridge of the Dark Conquest, watching the tactical displays with satisfaction. The human fleet waited ahead, just as his intelligence reports had predicted. 8,000 small ships arranged in a desperate defensive formation. "Distance to enemy fleet?" Zektar asked. 2 million kilometers and closing, High Commander, replied his navigation officer. "Weapon range in 15 minutes, added War. Master Thexelon." Zektar nodded. "Signal the fleet. All ships prepare for battle. This will be quick." On human ships throughout the system, very different conversations were taking place. Admiral Sarah Chen sat in her command chair aboard the Indomitable. Around her, the bridge crew worked with calm efficiency. No one looked worried. Everyone wore that same quiet smile they had shown for the past 7 days. "Admiral," reported Dr. Kim, "Zephyrian fleet is approaching maximum effective range." "Thank you, Doctor. Commander Thompson, status of all weapons systems." Thompson checked his displays. "All conventional weapons loaded and ready, Admiral. Kinetic launchers are fully charged. Railguns are operational." "Excellent. Chief Rodriguez, how are our special systems?" Rodriguez grinned. "All Phase 3 systems are standing by, Admiral. Just waiting for your word." Sarah nodded. She touched her communication device. "This is Admiral Chen to all fleet units. Execute standard defensive plan. Repeat, standard defensive plan only. Do not, I repeat, do not activate special systems until ordered." Across the human fleet, 8,000 ships acknowledged the order. They moved into traditional battle formation, just as the Zephyrians expected. But throughout the solar system, other forces watched and waited. In asteroid belts, massive weapon platforms powered up their systems. Near Jupiter, hidden shipyards opened their doors. Around Mars, stealth ships dropped their camouflage. The real human fleet was about to reveal itself. "Enemy fleet in weapon range," announced the Zephyrian tactical officer. "All ships," commanded Zektar, "open fire." The space between the fleets filled with blue plasma bolts. Thousands of energy weapons fired at once, creating a deadly light show against the darkness of space. The plasma struck human ships, and explosions bloomed like bright flowers. "Direct hits on multiple targets," reported the Zephyrian weapons officer. "Enemy ships are taking heavy damage." Zektar watched with satisfaction as human vessels exploded or drifted powerless through space. "Their shields can't stop our weapons. This is even easier than I expected." The human fleet fired back. Kinetic projectiles and crude missiles flew toward the Zephyrian ships. Most of them struck the aliens' energy shields and bounced off harmlessly. A few got through and caused minor damage to the massive Zephyrian vessels. "Pathetic," laughed War Master Thexlon. "Their weapons can barely scratch our paint." The battle continued for 20 minutes. More human ships exploded under Zephyrian fire. The human formation began to break apart as vessels tried to escape the plasma barrage. "Enemy fleet is collapsing," reported the tactical officer. "They're trying to retreat." Zektar felt the satisfaction of victory. "Pursue them. Don't let any escape." But on the Indomitable, Admiral Chen was having a very different conversation. "Dr. Kim," she said quietly, "are the Zephyrians fully committed to the attack?" Dr. Kim checked her sensors. "Yes, Admiral, all 50,000 ships are engaged. They've moved into close formation to maximize their firepower." "Perfect. Commander Thompson, have we lost enough ships to make this convincing?" Thompson smiled grimly. 2,000 vessels destroyed or disabled, Admiral, all according to plan." Sarah nodded. Every ship they had lost contained volunteers who knew this day would come. They had given their lives to make the deception perfect. "Chief Rodriguez," Sarah said, her voice carrying clearly across the bridge, "execute first contact protocol." Rodriguez's grin became enormous. "Yes, Admiral. All stations. This is the Chief. Authorization Alpha 77. First contact protocol is now active." Across human space, everything changed. The debris from destroyed human ships suddenly came to life. What the Zephyrians had thought were chunks of metal and floating wreckage revealed themselves as camouflaged drone fighters. Thousands of them swarmed toward the alien fleet. The mining stations in the asteroid belt dropped their disguises. Massive weapon platforms, each one larger than a Zephyrian battleship, opened fire with kinetic weapons moving at 30% of light speed. Around Jupiter, the doors of hidden shipyards opened completely. Not hundreds of ships emerged, but thousands. New vessels with hull designs the Zephyrians had never seen, ships built specifically to fight enemies with energy shields and plasma weapons. Near Mars, the space itself seemed to tear open as stealth ships dropped their cloaking. An entire second fleet, invisible until this moment, appeared on Zephyrian sensors. "What is happening?" shouted Zektar as his displays filled with new contacts. "Where did all these ships come from?" "High Commander," his tactical officer said with panic in his voice. "We're detecting massive weapon signatures throughout the system, energy readings unlike anything in our databases." The first kinetic strikes reached the Zephyrian fleet. The AOE projectiles moved too fast for plasma weapons to intercept. They punched through energy shields like they weren't there and tore through alien hulls with devastating force. "Impossible!" screamed War Master Thexalon. "Their weapons are primitive. They can't penetrate our shields." "High Commander," reported the science officer, "these aren't the same weapons they were using before. These projectiles are moving at significant fractions of light speed. Our shields aren't designed to stop solid matter at these velocities." More strikes hit the Zephyrian fleet. Ships that had survived 1,000 battles across the galaxy died in seconds as human kinetic weapons tore them apart. Admiral Chen stood up from her command chair. The battle was no longer one-sided. "Dr. Kim," she said, "please open a communication channel to the Zephyrian flagship." "Channel open, Admiral." Sarah's image appeared on the bridge of the dark. "Conquest." Zektar stared at her in shock and rage. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Confederation Navy," she said calmly. I wanted to personally thank Emperor Vexithera for his patience. 7 days was exactly the time we needed to complete our preparations. This is impossible, Zektar snarled. You only had 8,000 ships. Sarah smiled. You saw 8,000 ships, Commander. You saw exactly what we wanted you to see. Around the Zephyrian fleet, more human vessels appeared from hidden positions. The alien formation, designed to maximize firepower against a smaller enemy, became a trap as human ships attacked from all directions. You studied our technology, Sarah continued, but you only studied what we allowed you to study. You monitored our communications, but you only heard what we wanted you to hear. Kinetic projectiles continued to hammer the Zephyrian fleet. Ships that had terrorized dozens of worlds were reduced to spinning wreckage. Impossible, Zektar repeated. Your species is primitive, weak. You couldn't have built all this. Sarah's smile grew wider. You're right about one thing, Commander. We are different from other species you've conquered. We spent centuries fighting wars against ourselves. We learned to be very, very good at killing things that threatened us. Explosions bloomed throughout the Zephyrian formation as more ships died. You wanted to know about human nature, Sarah said. Here's lesson number 1. We don't surrender. We don't run, we don't give up, ever. Zektar tried to respond, but his ship shook as human weapons found their target. And here's lesson number 2, Sarah continued. When you threaten our children, we don't get scared, we get creative. The transmission ended. Around the remains of the Zephyrian fleet, human ships closed in for the final phase of the battle. The galaxy's mighty conquerors were about to learn what humans meant by hospitality. High Commander Zektar's flagship shook violently as another human kinetic projectile tore through its hull. Emergency lights bathed the bridge in red, and the smell of burning electronics filled the air. Damage report! Zektar shouted over the noise of alarms. 17 decks breached, High Commander, his engineering officer replied with panic in his voice. Shield generators are offline. Main weapons are at 30% power. Zektar looked at the tactical display and felt something he had never experienced in 300 years of warfare. Fear. The Zephyrian fleet, which had started the battle with 50,000 ships, was down to less than 30,000. Human vessels swarmed around them like angry insects, striking from every direction with weapons that cut through Zephyrian defenses like they were made of paper. How is this possible? War Master Thexelon demanded. She was bleeding green blood from a head wound where she had been thrown against a control panel. Their technology was primitive. Communications. Send a distress signal to the home fleet, Zektar ordered. Maximum priority. Tell High Command we need immediate reinforcement. The communications officer worked frantically at his station. After a few moments, he looked up with terror in his yellow eyes. High Commander, I can't get through. Something is blocking our quantum communication array. What do you mean, blocking? Zektar snarled. The signal is being jammed, sir. I've never seen anything like it. It's like they're disrupting quantum space itself. On the human flagship Indomitable, Dr. Kim monitored the alien communications attempts with satisfaction. Admiral, she reported to Sarah Chen, the Zephyrians are trying to call for help. Our quantum jamming systems are working perfectly. No signals are getting through to their home territory. Admiral Chen nodded. She stood at the center of the bridge, watching the battle displays with calm professionalism. Around her, the crew worked with the smooth efficiency of people who had planned for this moment their entire careers. Excellent, Doctor. Commander. Thompson, status of the fleet? Thompson smiled grimly. We've lost 4,000 ships, Admiral, but that includes the vessels we sacrificed in the opening phase. Total enemy casualties are at 23,000 and climbing. Chief Rodriguez, how are our special weapon systems performing? Rodriguez was practically glowing with pride. Better than expected, Admiral. The kinetic kill vehicles are punching through their shields like they don't exist. Our stealth drones are causing massive confusion in their formations. Sarah nodded and touched her communication device. This is Admiral Chen to all fleet commanders. Begin Phase 4 operations. It's time to show our guests the rest of human hospitality. Across human space, New orders went out. Ships that had been hiding in the outer system began their final approach. Weapon platforms that had remained silent powered up their most devastating systems. And deep in the asteroid belt, the largest human weapons began to charge. Back on the Zephyrian flagship, panic was spreading through the crew. "Hi, Commander," the sensor officer called out. "I'm detecting new ships approaching from the outer system. Massive energy signatures." "How many ships?" Zektar demanded. I can't get an accurate count, sir. They're using some kind of stealth technology that interferes with our sensors, but the energy readings suggest thousands of vessels." War Master Thexelon stared at the displays in disbelief. "This is impossible. Our intelligence reports showed only 8,000 human ships in their entire fleet." "Your intelligence reports were wrong," came a familiar voice. Everyone on the Zephyrian bridge turned to see Admiral Chen's image on their main screen. She had opened a communication channel again. "You're probably wondering how we fooled your sensors," Sarah said conversationally. "It's actually quite simple. We've been studying your technology for over 200 years. Zektar found his voice. "That's impossible. Humanity has only been in space for 300 years. You couldn't have known about us." Sarah smiled. "Oh, but we did. Your empire is loud, Commander. Your ships broadcast quantum signatures across half the galaxy. Your communication networks leak data like broken pipes. We've been listening to you for centuries." Another explosion rocked the Zephyrian flagship as human weapons found their mark. "Every time you conquered a new species," Sarah continued, "we learned from their final transmissions. Every time you destroyed a civilization, we studied the sensor data. We know everything about your tactics, your technology, your weaknesses." On the tactical displays, the Zephyrian fleet continued to shrink. Ships that had terrorized countless worlds were being systematically destroyed by an enemy they had underestimated. "But you want to know the real secret?" Sarah asked. "The thing that makes humans different from all those other species you conquered?" Zektar said nothing, but Sarah could see the rage and fear in his yellow eyes. "We don't just fight to survive," she said. "We fight to win. And when someone threatens our families, we don't just want to defeat them. We want to make sure they never threaten anyone ever again." The space around the Zephyrian fleet filled with new human vessels. Ships with hull designs that looked nothing like the crude vessels the aliens had faced before. These were sleek, deadly, and clearly built for one purpose: killing Zephyrians. "You see, Commander," Sarah continued, "while you were building an empire, we were building a trap. While you were conquering peaceful species, we were preparing for war. While you were getting fat and lazy on easy victories, we were learning to fight enemies who could fight back." A massive human dreadnought appeared on the Zephyrian sensors. It was easily 3 times the size of their largest battleship, and its hull bristled with weapon systems the aliens didn't recognize. "That's the TCS Retribution," Sarah said, noticing where Zektar was looking. "We built her specifically to kill ships like yours. Her main guns fire projectiles at 60% of light speed. Her armor is designed to absorb plasma weapons. Her shields can deflect any energy beam your ships can produce." The Retribution fired. The projectile was invisible to the naked eye, but its impact on a Zephyrian battleship was spectacular. The alien vessel simply came apart, its hull shredded by the kinetic impact. "You wanted to know about human nature," Sarah said. "Here's the lesson. We're the species that looked at death itself and decided to make it our pet. We're the creatures that turned our own world from a paradise into a training ground for war. We're the ones who spent 1,000 years learning every possible way to kill our enemies." More human ships appeared from stealth positions. The Zephyrian fleet, once proud and mighty, was now completely surrounded. "And here's the most important lesson," Sarah continued. "We don't just learn from our mistakes. We learn from everyone else's mistakes too. Every species you destroyed taught us something about how to fight you." Zektar finally found his voice again. "What do you want from us?" he demanded. Sarah's smile disappeared. Her voice became cold and hard. "What do we want? We want you to understand something very clearly. Humanity tried to stay hidden from the galaxy. We tried to avoid contact with species like yours. We wanted to be left alone. The human fleet closed in around the remaining Zephyrian ships like the jaws of a trap. But you found us anyway, Sarah said. You came to our space. You threatened our people. You gave us a choice between surrender and war. Another Zephyrian ship exploded under human fire. So we chose war, Sarah continued, but not the kind of war you're used to fighting. Not a war against primitives with inferior technology. Not a war against peaceful species who never learned to fight. This is a war against humans, Commander. Zektar looked around his bridge. His crew stared at the displays in terror as human ships continued their methodical destruction of the Zephyrian fleet. And humans, Sarah said, her voice carrying across the void of space, don't lose wars. The transmission ended, leaving the Zephyrians alone with the terrible reality of their situation. The mighty galactic empire that had conquered 847 star systems was being destroyed by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Outside the bridge windows, human ships moved through space with deadly purpose, teaching the galaxy a lesson about the nature of humanity. 6 months after the battle that destroyed the Zephyrian invasion fleet, the galaxy watched in stunned silence as the impossible continued to happen. The mighty Zephyrian Empire, ruler of 847 star systems for 3,000 years, was falling apart. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Sarah Chen studied reports from across Zephyrian space. Every day brought news of another victory, another liberated world, another piece of the Empire crumbling under human assault. Status report, Dr. Kim, Sarah said. Dr. Kim looked up from her science station with a satisfied smile. Admiral, Fleet Group 7 has successfully liberated the Kepler colonies. Fleet Group 12 has broken the siege of the Vegan worlds. And Fleet Group 3 reports that the Zephyrian stronghold at Wolf 359 has surrendered. Casualties? Sarah asked. Minimal on our side, Admiral. The Zephyrians still haven't figured out how to counter our technology. Most of their remaining fleets are surrendering rather than fight. Sarah nodded. She walked to the main screen, which showed a map of local galactic space. 6 months ago, most of this region had been colored the dark green of the Zephyrian Empire. Now, system after system glowed with the blue of human liberation forces. Commander Thompson, she said. Any word from the other galactic powers? Thompson checked his communications station. Yes, Admiral. The Altair Federation has requested a formal meeting. The Centauri Alliance wants to discuss a mutual defense pact. And the Rigel Consortium is asking about trade agreements. Sarah smiled. Interesting how friendly everyone becomes when they see what happens to bullies. She was right. Across the galaxy, the older civilizations were watching humanity's war against the Zephyrians with a mixture of awe and terror. Species that had submitted to Zephyrian rule centuries ago were seeing their oppressors defeated by newcomers who had been in space for barely 300 years. On the planet Altair Prime, the Federation Council met in emergency session. The humans have done the impossible, said Counselor Vexana, her blue skin pale with worry. They've broken the Zephyrian Empire in 6 months. 6 months. It took the Zephyrians 50 years to conquer half that much space. Their technology is beyond anything we've seen, added Counselor Mortex. Kinetic weapons that move at significant fractions of light speed, stealth systems that make ships completely invisible, quantum jammers that can block communication, across entire star systems. The council chamber was filled with worried voices. The Altair Federation had survived by staying neutral in galactic conflicts, but neutrality seemed impossible when humans were rewriting the rules of warfare. What do we know about their intentions? Asked the council chairman. Are they planning to conquer us next? That's the strange part, said Intelligence Director Colron. Every world the humans have liberated, they've immediately granted independence. They're not building an empire, they're destroying one. Meanwhile, in the Centauri system, the Alliance military was having its own crisis meetings. Our entire defense strategy was based on the assumption that the Zephyrian Empire was unbeatable, said General Thokmar. If humans can defeat them this easily, what does that say about our own defenses? It says we need to be very polite. To the humans, replied Admiral Kestra, and hope they're as peaceful as their diplomatic messages claim. But the most interesting conversations were happening in systems that had never been conquered by anyone. Ancient civilizations that had watched younger species rise and fall for millions of years were suddenly paying attention to the small corner of space where humans lived. On the ancient world of Proxima Draconis, the eldest council convened for the first time in 10,000 years. The young species has done something unprecedented, said the first elder, her voice carrying the weight of millennia. They have not merely defeated a galactic empire, they have dismantled it piece by piece, liberated its subjects, and asked for nothing in return. Their combat methods are unusual, added the war elder. They fight with a precision and ruthlessness that suggests extensive study of their enemies, but they also show mercy to those who surrender and protection to those who cannot protect themselves. The eldest council had seen the rise and fall of 1,000 civilizations. They had watched species conquer the galaxy and rule it with iron fists. They had seen empires built on fear, greed, and the desire for power. But they had never seen anything like humanity. Back in human space, Admiral Chen was receiving reports that confirmed what the galaxy was beginning to realize. "Admiral," said Lieutenant Martinez, "we're getting surrender offers from Zephyrian governors throughout the Outer Rim. Some of them are offering to switch sides and fight against their own empire." "What about the Zephyrian homeworlds?" Sarah asked. "Completely cut off from the rest of their territory, Admiral. Our fleet groups have surrounded their core systems. No ships get in or out without our permission." Sarah considered this. The war was essentially over. The Zephyrian Empire's military was scattered or destroyed. Their communication networks were jammed. Their supply lines were cut. Their subject species were in rebellion. But Sarah knew the real war had never been about defeating the Zephyrians. The real war was about teaching the galaxy a lesson about what happened when someone threatened humanity. "Open a channel to all galactic civilizations," Sarah ordered. "All frequencies, all known communication methods." "Channel open, Admiral." Sarah stood in front of the main screen, knowing that her image was being broadcast to every inhabited world in local galactic space. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Confederation Navy," she began. 6 months ago, the Zephyrian Empire invaded human space. They demanded our surrender. They threatened to destroy our worlds and enslave our people." She paused, letting her words sink in across thousands of star systems. "Today, the Zephyrian Empire no longer exists as a military threat. Their fleets are destroyed or scattered. Their conquered territories are free. Their ability to wage war against innocent species has been permanently eliminated." The galaxy listened in absolute silence. "But we didn't fight this war for conquest," Sarah continued. "We fought it for a very simple reason. Because someone threatened our families. And there's something you need to understand about humans." Sarah's expression became serious, her voice carrying clearly across the void of space. "We don't start wars. But when someone else starts a war with us, we finish it. Completely. Permanently. And in a way that makes sure it never happens again." She walked closer to the camera. "The Zephyrian Empire thought they knew about humans. They thought we were weak because we stayed hidden. They thought we were primitive because our technology looked simple. They thought we were easy targets because we had never conquered anyone." Sarah smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. "They were wrong about all of it. We stayed hidden because we were preparing. Our technology looked simple because we wanted it to look that way. We never conquered anyone because we didn't need to prove how dangerous we were." The transmission reached every corner of known space. Ancient civilizations that had never paid attention to human space before were now listening to every word. "Until now," Sarah said. "Now you know what humans are capable of when someone threatens what we care about. Now you know what happens when someone mistakes our patience for weakness." She paused again, making sure her next words would be remembered. "But here's what you really need to know," Sarah continued. "We're not interested in ruling the galaxy. We're not interested in building an empire. We're not interested in forcing anyone to do anything they don't want to do. Her expression softened slightly. What we are interested in is peace. Real peace. The kind of peace where civilizations can grow and prosper without worrying about being conquered by bullies like the Zephyrians. Sarah looked directly into the camera, as if she could see every being in the galaxy who was listening. So here's our offer to the galaxy, she said. We will protect any species that wants protection. We will defend any world that asks for defense. We will stand between you and anyone who tries to do to you what the Zephyrians tried to do to us. The silence across the galaxy was absolute. Never before had a species offered protection to everyone, asking for nothing in return. But understand this clearly, Sarah added, her voice becoming hard again. We will also destroy anyone who threatens the innocent. Completely. Permanently. And in a way that serves as an example to others who might consider following their path. She stepped back from the camera. The choice is yours, Galaxy. You can have humans as friends, protecting and helping you grow in peace. Or you can have humans as enemies, and learn what the Zephyrians learned. Sarah smiled again. And this time it was genuinely warm. We really hope you choose friendship. Humans make much better friends than enemies. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, billions of beings sat in stunned silence as they realized that the balance of galactic power had just shifted forever. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Chen's crew looked at her with pride and admiration. Admiral, said Dr. Kim quietly, I think the galaxy is going to choose friendship. Sarah nodded, looking out at the stars. I hope so, Doctor. But if they don't, well... She smiled that same calm smile she had worn on the day the Zephyrians